All Things Black with Garland and Calvin present Fanboys. Fanboys is a weekly breakdown of the sports world from a fan's perspective. Now, here are your hosts, Garland and Calvin.
All Things Black presents fan. Well, you know what? We're in the middle of rebranding, so you might see a different name. So let me start with saying the B.I.G. sports show, the Big Intelligent Gentleman sports show.
Ta-da.
I'm Calvin. That guy over there is Garland. And we are rebranded, renewed. We're going to be making sure we come to you as often as possible because we've been getting just absolutely murdered on our inconsistency. Just murdered.
One main listener, we getting murdered
unapologetically. We got one loyal listener, and he just be like, "What are y'all doing? Like y'all turning me away? Like good."
But my thing, I don't know if I can make him legit though. He just listening to the Super Bowl podcast, and it's that going into baseball season.
Hey man,
new season about to start.
He like all of us, just mad at Lamar. Just couldn't get over with the rate. You know what? I'm gonna leave that alone.
I've been trying to watch the AFC Championship game because I TiVo'd it, I recorded it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna sit down and watch it. I watched the Miami game maybe a week or two ago. I think I might have pulled up the Detroit. I taped about 5 or 6 games this season. So I think I got Seattle, I got Detroit, I got Miami. I don't think I did the San Francisco game because I was away. But yeah, I got a couple different games. Oh, I got a Cincinnati game that we won to start off the little run we had at the end of the season. Yeah, so one day soon, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this AFC Championship. We got to get over it. We got to move on. What's up, everybody? I know y'all heard the theme song. We're working on the theme song too. Mr. C just passed away. Rest in power, Mr. C. I was going to call him and ask him, could we get some Biggie instrumentals or something? Some Biggie vocals for the B.I.G. show. But I didn't get to him in time. But rest in power to Mr. C.
Rest in power. And even though it's a new name, we're still going to be on all the podcast platforms. Yes. We are live on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel, and now we're going to have a YouTube podcast that you can watch also. But it won't be live on the YouTube podcast, just live on the YouTube channel. All the other platforms is there. And it might even be on our Facebook page, the All Things Black page. Let me check and see real quick. I tried to set it up. I don't know if it went through or... It don't look like it.
While he looking at that, y'all talk bad about Calvin. Calvin be having me up at the crack of dawn on Saturdays because we're doing this in the afternoon. He be up at the crack of dawn. Calvin's the person who wants to record early. I'm always the person. Let's do it a little bit later, at least after 10ish. Calvin, like, can we do it at 9? I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it at 9. We went to the baseball game last night, and we lost because of Calvin and Katina. But but I said, okay, Calvin. So I'm up early. I'm all prepped up, ready. Got the lights on and everything. 9. No
in front of everybody, yo.
Hey, bro. Hey, Brody.
In front of everybody, yo. You just going
9:15, 9:30. I'm calling like, yo, you have reached Calvin. I'm like, yes, dude.
In front of everybody, yo.
But anyway,
you could have saved that for your come on, yo.
You know what? Because I got another come on, yo. It's another black man. I'm gonna get on this come on, yo. So. I'm taking my shots early.
I can't believe you to call me out. Let everybody know how lazy I am.
That's a pre-come on, yo.
First of all, no Diddy. Not a pre-come on, yo. No Diddy, yo. No. Oh my goodness. Anyway, what we talking about today?
Hey man, let's just go ahead and jump right onto it. We're gonna hit on as much as we can hit on today and all. And so, first of all, we just said RIP to Mr. C, but we also want to say rest in power to O.J. Simpson. He passed away at the age of 76. Decorated football star and Hollywood actor who was acquitted of charges he killed his former wife and her friend was labeled found liable in a separate civil trial. He died from a battle with prostate cancer at the age of 76, as I mentioned before. Simpson played 11 seasons, 9 of them with the Buffalo Bills, and he became known as the Juice when he was with Buffalo on an offensive line known as the Electric Company. If you remember that, he won 4 NFL rushing titles, rushed for over 11,000 yards in his career. He scored 76 touchdowns and made 5 first-team All-Pro squads and played in 6 Pro Bowls. His best season was in 1973 when he ran for over 2,000 yards. 2003, it was the first running back to break the 2,000-yard rushing mark, doing it in 14 games, by the way, while averaging 141.3 yards per game that year, which is still an NFL record. Now, Simpson, he earned fame and fortune and adulation through football and show business, but his legacy was forever changed by the June 1994 knife slayings of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman, in Los Angeles. And so, what are your thoughts about OJ's legacy as a player, as an actor, and his legacy in terms of race in America?
Yeah, OJ is probably one of the most polarizing sports figures ever in the history of the world, and maybe for a
Probably.
very long time. You know, there was a time that OJ was considered. Now, Jim Brown is obviously a predecessor of his, but there was a time where OJ was considered the greatest running back ever. That 2,000-yard season was nothing to be smirked at. I think that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
broken until Eric Dickerson came
Right.
in and broke that record. But yeah, OJ was an amazing football player, Heisman Trophy winner. I don't know if you, I think you mentioned that.
I did not
Um,
mention he was a Heisman Trophy winner. I
Heisman
think I might have
Trophy
left that
winner.
out. Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously the reason why he actually went to jail. But let me move on to the acting career. You had him prominent actor in Airplane. He did a couple other
Naked
movies,
Gun,
but
you mean? The
Naked Gun,
guys who, yeah,
Naked
the
Gun,
guys
not
who, yeah,
Airplane. Yeah,
Kareem was
yeah,
in Airplane. Mm.
with Leslie Nielsen, Naked
Yes,
Gun.
Naked Gun.
However, I think he was mostly remembered for his commercials, the Hertz commercials,
Yeah.
running through the airport. Yeah, I was a little guy remembering him
Mm-hmm.
jumping over luggage and all.
Yes.
You know, OJ was the most popular black athlete at that time. He was, of course, he wasn't like Muhammad Ali. OJ was one that did not join with the black men that tried to stand up, and you know
Right.
he got a lot of flack for that. But he was still OJ. He was front and center. And then, as we all talk about, he got his nigga wake up call during that
Mm-hmm.
trial. Now, what I never understood was, and let me move on to the trial. What I never understood was he was found not guilty of murder. One of the reasons why OJ went to jail is because he was found criminally liable for the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, which
Mm-hmm.
still always has always baffled me. If you're found not guilty, how are you responsible for the deaths? But with that being said, that was a judgment against him, a monetary judgment against him. And if you remember, it was on TV. They were
Mm-hmm.
holding it up in the little window. They were holding up guilty and then holding up the cost that he would have to pay the family. So
Right.
part of that was them finally getting his assets, and one of those was the Heisman Trophy. And
Which they melted.
OJ went to the hotel to retrieve his Heisman Trophy, and is on recording being gangster. If you never thought OJ was black, listen to that recording. OJ was speaking real black in there, but he took his Heisman Trophy back and eventually had
Mm-hmm.
to surrender it again because he was arrested and jailed, and that's what finally took OJ down as far as going to jail. Um, you know, this country is still split on the attitude with OJ. Now, admittedly, I think a lot of us, black and white, believe that he did or had something to do with the deaths. Um, but when it comes to the punishment, we feel like he was found not guilty. So you're supposed to just let him ride, let him live his life. OJ has also had other problems, of course, with the black community, which you still messing with the white girls, ain't you, OJ? You still messing with the white girls. But I think
Yeah,
as a
preference.
whole, I think as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
black people support the idea of OJ Simpson. Maybe not the man himself, but the idea. And his death is still, it's a loss. It's a loss for everybody. He still has a family. And I'm going to talk a little more about that in my Come On Yo about the death.
I think when I think about OJ, I think I probably really became a fan of remembering football and being connected to football probably about 75 or 76. Uh, Growing up here in Baltimore, of course, was a Baltimore Colts fan. Those were the years. I think Ted Marchibroda was the coach, and they had Burt Jones and Lydell Mitchell, the Sack Pack. And so this was kind of like they were bad for a couple years after they got rid of Unitas, and they were still transitioning. This was early in the ownership of Bob Irsay. So, there was always the specter of that the team might leave. And, you really didn't see any games on TV because if the game was not sold out, you could not, you had the NFL
Right.
had the
Yeah.
blackout rules.
Yeah.
And
The
so if the
blackout.
game was not sold out locally, you did not see it on TV. Thank God that was finally struck down decades ago. But, back in the 70s, man, you did not get the home team. And although this was a football town, by that time the Ravens, the Colts were not selling out. So didn't get to see a lot of the local games, but the Bills were in the AFC East with the Colts. And so occasionally, sometimes I got to go to games, or you might get to see a game on TV. I mean, Juice was fast. I did not see him in his heyday. He just played on some crappy Buffalo teams, but he was the best player on those crappy Buffalo teams. And so I think by the time we start to recognize the impact of Juice as a football player, he was coming towards the end of his career, and he was with the Niners. And it's crazy that he was with the Niners at the beginning of Bill Walsh's
Mm.
career as the Niners head coach. And so imagine a healthy OJ running in a West Coast football system with the Niners. That would have been really interesting to see a peak OJ. But by the time that I became a fan, OJ was on his way of transitioning out, and I knew OJ more as the Hertz pitchman, acting in Naked Gun, very funny roles and different things like that. And so I think even OJ might have been in Roots. I think OJ was racing Kunta Kinte on the beach one day, and so OJ might have even been in Roots. And so I knew OJ more as the actor. He was one of the first football players, black football players, who made the transition from playing to the booth. First, he was in the booth on Monday Night
Right. I forgot
Football.
about that.
Then he
Yeah.
was a sideline reporter. He was one of the first black studio hosts on NBC when NBC originally had the AFC football package. And so OJ was kind of like a leader in that sense as well. You know, um, when I think about OJ, as we get to the trial of Nicole and all that thing, I think OJ's trial really it was one of the pivotal points in this country in terms of race, in terms of what happened in terms of police treatment of black people. A lot of people say that when you look at what happened with OJ in that trial, people were really cheering not because they were cheering for OJ, and he was exonerated in court. I'll leave it up to all the conspiracy theorists to debate if he did it, if he not. That's not for me to judge, but it was more so of a cheer about race that a black man, quote unquote, beat the system, as opposed to it was OJ, because OJ really thought his money transcended race. It was funny. We were talking about this last night at the baseball game, and our friend Jay was getting on me about it. But I think it's true that I was watching the documentary a little bit before Made in America. ESPN did a documentary that aired several years ago. Excellent. If you get an opportunity, it's probably on Hulu. Go back and look at it. OJ really thought that he didn't see himself as a black man. He just saw himself as a human being. This is a guy that, I'm making money. I've transitioned to a professional life, and I don't see my race as guides me in life. I see myself as a man. As a matter of fact, they used to joke and say he thought he was an old Jewish man. And so OJ thought his dollars exonerated him from being treated like any other black man. And in the end, it didn't. And so um, I wish him, his family the best. It was a kind of like, I don't know if it was a tragedy, a great American tragedy of a person who, kind of started at the top, and he navigated the rough years of not being a player into becoming quite lucrative. I mean, OJ, he was connected to Hertz. He was in early on Honey Hams and a whole bunch of these money making ideas. OJ was there originally making that money, and then that descent of his marriage and the abuse and all of those different things. A person that really fell from grace, and at the end, he still lived a comfortable life that he could lead all the way up through the end. And so, great football player from the years that I remember seeing him. One of those first actor athletes that we saw on the scene after Jim Brown and others, Fred Williamson, one of the main ones. Not necessarily a race man. I would not put OJ in a class with Jackie Robinson or Jim Brown. He was not. But, I think in the end, him being able to survive, come through that, and, live a comfortable life. One of the things that probably really concerns me is, black men in this day and age, we're still losing our life to prostate cancer as well. And so, for any of
Yes.
the black men that are listening to this, hopefully you're getting checked up. You're going to get your colonoscopy. I talked about that last year. I got one and don't have to go back for several years now. I thank God I was clean and I don't have a history of prostate cancer in my family. But you still have to get checked, black men. We got
Gotta
to get
get checked.
checked. And I'm not sure what toll OJ's body is taking in those later years, but it's unfortunate that he lost his life to prostate cancer. You can beat it, and hopefully that you're taking care of your health as well. But as Paul Mooney said, he got that nigga wake up call.
Got it.
He got it, and it definitely woke everyone up to the realities. I think if it was not for the Rodney King beating that happened before that, never know that most people maybe would not even be paying attention to what happened with OJ. And that also led to the Kardashians. We could say that OJ, not only did OJ's trial kind of birth because this was pre-internet, this was pre
This was
court
the
TV, all of
yeah.
these things. And so OJ,
The OJ trial is the reason for court
yeah,
TV.
it
The way
birthed court
people,
TV.
yeah,
It birthed
yeah,
the 24-hour news cycle.
yeah.
That's what this trial birthed, and it also birthed the Kardashians.
It
And
absolutely
so,
did.
yeah,
And
so
and
OJ,
and
mhm.
my condolences to Chloe. Chloe Kardashian.
Right?
Your dad just
That
passed. I don't care what you say. Your
that
dad passed.
passed.
Oh, and speaking of daughters, I don't know if anyone's seen Arnell. Arnell, give me a call. I know you
Yes,
might be
Arnell.
you might be feeling a little. I
I
ain't
don't
seen
know
her
how her
lately,
brother
but if
feeling
she's
because
still
that was the
if
conspiracy that the brother
well, that's
chopped
true.
him up.
But if Arnell still look, somewhat the way she did during the
Bro,
trials, give me a call, Arnell. I want to
it's
help you through
crazy
your time of need, girl.
because when I was a little boy, Jet magazine used to have something called Jet Junior. It was a magazine for kids.
I
Do you remember? You kind of remember
vaguely
that?
remember
Vaguely
that.
remember that?
Yeah, I vaguely
And
remember
I
that.
don't know why my mom had a subscription of Jet Junior for me, and they did a pictorial on OJ's family. This is when he was married to Marguerite, the first wife,
Hmm.
and it was Arnell, who my middle name, and his daughter and his son. I think his son's named Jason. And so, it was like a picture in them in the home and the pool and all of these different things in the tennis court, the beautiful black family. And not too many years after that, he left his black wife for Nicole Simpson, and went on with the rest of his life where it ended up. But yeah, that's interesting. I never forget that pictorial in Jet Junior of OJ and his first family.
Yeah, and once again, Arnell.
Arnell, don't call him because there's this light skinned woman that live in his house. I don't think you want to deal with her. Don't play with her. I'm
Arnell.
warning you right now, Arnell. You might.
I mean, but clearly
Don't do
Arnell
it.
got ninja blood in her family. I might not want to deal with her. She
Unless
got.
he got a burner phone, don't do it, Arnell. I'll let you know. Don't do it, sis. Don't do it. Hey man, the feds they popped Otani's interpreter, the former longtime interpreter for LA Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani, surrendered to authorities and later appeared in U.S. District Court on Friday. He exploited his personal and professional relationship with Ohtani to take more than $16 million from the two-way player's bank account for years, prosecutors said, at times impersonating Ohtani to bankers so he could cover his bets and debts. He is charged with one count of bank fraud, which can carry a maximum fine up to $1 million and or up to 30 years in prison, according to federal sentencing guidelines. And so, how happy is Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball today that Ohtani was not implicated in indie gambling because the Fed said there's no evidence that Ohtani placed any bets?
You mean how happy is Rob Manfred that Otani's homeboy said, "I'm gonna just go ahead and take the heat for all of this"? Listen,
He ain't
listen,
he ain't
listen,
confessed. He just surrendered. They just got
listen.
papers.
They listen. I firmly believe that Shohei knew, was a part of it, or had something to do with this. But he is baseball's golden boy right now. He is the most popular athlete baseball has and probably has had since the emergence of Mike
Mhm.
Trout and Bryce Harper. They were popular, but Shohei is internationally popular. And is an amazing ball player at that. Let's
Sure.
two-way player. Won't be pitching for the next couple of years, but it's an amazing ball player. When I was reading the article, all I read was, "Sure, Shohei, I will take the fall for you." That's all I kept reading.
That's what you read in between the lines.
That's what I read. That's matter of fact. Let me pull up an article real quick. Here we go. Right here. Here we go. Right here. Of course, Shohei. As long as you take care of my family, I will take the heat for
Hold
you.
on. Are you talking as like the voiceover, like karate movie? Are you the voiceover of Shohei? Is that what you're doing? Because you
Every
sound like the guy who used to sound like Bruce Lee in the movies.
Well, yeah, that's how it came across. It says clearly on here, it's an article by Dragonfly Jones, and it says,
Just want to make sure. I didn't know if that was Shohei's voice or the interpreter's voice, or that was the
it's the
voiceover guy.
that's what they say. That's what they do. They be like voiced by whomever is speaking for them. When you watch documentaries and stuff,
Right.
they be having somebody talk for them. That's what this one said. Hold on, let me read another one that says,
I just want to
"Shohei,
make sure.
it was $40 million, even though 20 million of it was mine and another 20 million of it was your debt. I will take it all. Thank you." And then then it does a bow. Then it does a bow. I'm so racist.
Did it end with and you took my rice cakes?
It actually ended with, "If you was more worried about your craft than these gambling debts, I wouldn't have to take this heat for you, Shohei."
Oh Lord. Dragonfly then. So that's a shame. Yeah, trust me. Shohei still don't know how to talk no English. They're like, Shohei, did you bet? No speaker English.
Exactly. Shohei don't know if he Latin or if he Japanese. They asked him a question. He was like, "Me or no speaker no English." They're like, "Shohei, that's not Japanese." Oh yeah.
Right.
Me no speak no English.
Me Chinese. Me play joke.
Yo, you are so racist. And we just rebranded. We're gonna have to get rebranded again after we get shut down because you are so racist.
It might have been bigoted, but it wasn't racist. Now, Shohei, he's definitely still not speaking no English. Shohei, like, I don't want no interpreters. And when I go out here and meet this press, just let me try to fill these questions so I can be like, no speaking the English.
Shohei's like, I hit home run.
Shohei,
That's it.
Shohei doing a Dave Chappelle. I plead fifth. What one
Fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4,
four
5.
five fifth?
Fifth.
I plead fifth. Can I plead fifth? I know I'm not a citizen, but can I plead fifth?
Oh
I
boy.
plead fifth. One, two, three, four, fifth.
You're so proud.
Shohei, I'm sure Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball is very happy that Shohei was not implicated and that old boy is taking fall. And so I'm sure they very wax on, wax off. They're very
Exactly.
happy that Shohei,
Very happy.
yeah. This is a win for baseball. I'm sure they're super duper happy. Shohei's happy. I saw Dave Roberts, the manager. He's like, I'm happy because this allows me to get to the playoffs and blow it in the first round. And so everybody's just happy all around for Shohei. But yeah, this is a good day for baseball. I've read a little deep in the article. ESPN had a good article on this, and oh, dude, I mean, he had just went in and changed the account notifications and had the notifications coming to
Did he?
him, and
Did he?
yeah, he had to text. He violated the Stringer Bell law, the Stringer Bell rule. You know, when they used to have the co-op meetings and Shamrock was taking the notes of the meeting, and he's like, "Yo, what you doing?" He's like, "Yo, this is a meeting. Somebody gotta keep minutes." And he snatched the pad like, "You taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? If you committing crimes, you ain't supposed to be taking no notes." That's what, sometimes your text message. That's why your text messages got to disappear. Sometimes you gotta be like, "Yo, call me. Let's talk," instead of text, because you never know. Someday somebody might want to see your text and be like, "Oh," because there's FBI's that live in our houses. I know Calvin, he has CIA in his house. I got CIA in my house. My CIA is named Paula. His CIA is named Katina. And I don't care what password you got on that iPhone, they gonna break it. The black women are secretly agents for the CIA. I don't care what your passcode is.
I didn't say it. I did not say it.
All right, you think you slick? You think you got a slick little passcode?
I
Give
didn't
her
say it.
about 15 minutes with that phone.
If you haven't learned, you will learn
You're gonna learn.
eventually.
You're gonna learn today.
Young men, you will learn eventually.
You're gonna learn today.
Keep it tight.
You think oh yeah, oh nah, man, they ain't gonna know my pet. Mm-hmm. They know you. They know your mama birthday. They know your baby mama birthday. You think you being slick. You
When
think, oh yeah, I'm gonna use the date that I got my first haircut. They know that date too.
when Shohei's interpreter goes to jail, I heard they hired Peter Cetera, and he's going to be singing the theme from Karate Kid 2. I am Karate Kid 3. I am the man who will fight for your honor. I'll be the hero that you've been dreaming of. Yeah,
that's a shame.
That's a shame. Karate Kid 3, Peter Cetera. They're gonna be. That's a tribute to Shohei's interpreter. Yeah.
So dude was texting, and in the final text he says to the guy who he's sending the money to, because the guy was strong arming him as well. He says, "Hey man, you don't have to worry about it. It wasn't like you were stealing the money." He was like, "I think I was." And so even the interpreter knew he was doing wrong, buddy. But hey, Major League Baseball got to win today.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, story.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little NBA playoffs. The NBA regular season ends on Sunday, and the play-in tournament for the playoffs start at the end of the week. And so just a quick glance of what we're looking at. If the season ended today in the Eastern Conference, you would have the number 8 Heat versus the number 7 76ers. Then you would have the number 10 Atlanta Hawks versus the number 9 Chicago Bulls. And the winner of the 9-10 game would face the loser of the 7-8 game for the final playoff spot. In the Western Conference, you would have the number 8 Sacramento Kings versus the number 7 Phoenix Suns. You have the number 10 Lakers versus the number 9 Warriors, and the winner of the 9-10 game would face the loser of the 7-8 game. And so, let's start with the Eastern Conference. Who do you think comes out? What two teams do you think comes out with the final playoff spots?
Yeah, so well, shout out to the NBA once again because this is another year with that play-in tournament
Hmm.
that it's not even really the play-in teams that are up in question. It's that middle portion
Right.
of the playoffs that's still up in question. So first of all, give me the Sixers. I got a feeling
I was
Embiid
gonna
is
say that.
back. And Embiid is really showing them what they missed, and they maintained slightly while he was there. They fell off a lot, but they still maintain the playoff spot. I definitely got the Sixers grabbing one of those spots. Now, when it comes down to the Heat, Bulls, and the Hawks, how do you bet against Miami? We've talked about Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler. We've talked about the Heat for years. They have quietly been in, I believe, I want to say 3 of the last 4 finals or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to take the 76ers and the Heat coming out and grabbing those last 2 spots. And I actually have the Sixers making some noise up there. I don't think any other teams want to face the Sixers right now. So they're making some noise. I still got, all in all, I still got the Celtics coming out. The Celtics are definitely the best team in the East, and they've been proving that all season.
I would, excuse me, I would agree with you. I think the Celtics are the best team in the East. I think these final two teams, I would also agree with you. The Sixers, I saw them play in person earlier this year, the end of last year. I had the opportunity to go to a game, and they played the Wizards. And Embiid, he had 50. He probably could have scored 75 or 80 that game. They took him out. He didn't play the entire fourth quarter. He had 50 or 52 by the third quarter, and they just sat him for the rest of the game after he got to 50. He probably could have had 70 plus that game. And I've seen a couple other games where he had 50-point games where he's just unstoppable. I think the only reason they're down this low is because he was injured for a
Mm-hmm.
good part of the
That's the
season.
only reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only reason why they're down this low. If he was playing and healthy, they would be up and probably fighting for maybe second, third, or fourth seeding in the playoffs. Again, yeah, you never bet against the Heat. Spoelstra, it's just something when they get to the playoffs, you get to, it comes down to coaching and defense. Miami finds a way. They'll get this a seed and they'll make a run. I'm sure that the Celtics don't want to see them as the 8th seed, or maybe even Milwaukee doesn't want to see them as a 7th seed if they get
Right.
that, because they're a tough out. And Milwaukee knows from last year, and the Celtics also know from the previous year as well. And so it could get very tough down there at the bottom, because a lot of times those teams, they're not necessarily concerned about being up at the top. They just want to get into the tournament. Once they get into the tournament, then it's all best off. They can do whatever they want, and they tend to play well because you have your veterans really step up. I mean, you hadn't heard much from Jimmy Butler all season, but come
But
playoffs,
you generally don't. You
you don't
generally
hear
don't hear
much from
much.
him. I mean, he has his good games every now and again, but for the most part, you get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden he's Jimmy buckets.
Exactly.
And so there's something to watch out for in the West. I know we both took Denver. I think, and we took Denver at the beginning of the year, that Denver is probably
Yeah.
going to repeat as champions. Although they lost um, last night to the Spurs, and Wembanyama, he's a beast. And this kind of makes Sunday's games very important for that number 1 seed. I still, even 1 or 2 doesn't make a difference for Denver. They're going to come out of the West, but I like the Suns. All the
Really?
big, yeah, because they have their 3 playing now, and they seem to play pretty well together. I mean, you can't discount Durant, and you can't discount. I'll discount Beal, but I won't discount the other guard. You can't discount him, and I think they're playing well enough that they can beat the Kings. And I'm gonna have to say this: you never bet against LeBron. You never bet. I'm old enough now to say and wise enough to say that you never bet against LeBron James. I don't care where they are. They could be the 10th seed. As long as LeBron is playing, never bet against the Lakers. And it's going to be a tough one for the Warriors. I love Steph. I even like the little life that Clay has been showing the last couple weeks, and I think that's been good. But this is not 4 or 5 years ago. I don't think they have enough offensive power. Although they play great defense, I think they're the number one ranked defense in the league, or at least number two. Of course, they're number one in shooting threes and making threes and stuff like that. But once we get into these playoffs, LeBron turns into a different animal, and he's going to bring street clothes along with him. And this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. But I see the Suns and the Lakers coming out of the play-in.
Let me real quick. Let me hold your. Go ahead. Hold your ticket up. Hold your ticket up.
Why I gotta hold my ticket up for?
Hold your ticket up for the Lakers bandwagon. Let me see if, because we might decline this one because you've been on this for a couple years. Hold your ticket up. Let me scan it real quick. Let me scan it real quick. Because, sir, don't jump on the bandwagon now. You've been killing me and my Lakers for the past few years. I ain't forgot. Wait, the West remembers. We ain't forgot. You've been killing it. Now it's don't bet against LeBron. I'm old enough to know not to bet against LeBron and all that. Man, get out of
here. Don't bet against LeBron.
It's a little too late for that, sir. It's a little too. Now, I tried to tell you that last year.
You tried to say they're going to win the West.
I didn't say this year. I didn't say this year. I said they would last year, and they made it to the Western Conference Finals. Okay. All right. I ain't say that this
year. Now, they'll win one of these final seeds, but they're going to lose in the first round.
Well, so
because either they're going to face Minnesota or they're going to face Denver, and they'll lose in the first round.
And obviously, it's well documented. I'm a Lakers fan. Now, the only reason I think they're going to get one of these final spots is because I don't think the Kings or Golden State can beat either the Suns or the Lakers. So I'm gonna give them that. Now, when we start rolling into these next rounds, LeBron and AD have been kind of saving their legs, and they've started playing well going into it, and that veteran leadership is absolutely amazing. But you got some of these teams with these young legs out here. Oklahoma City has just oh my God, Oklahoma City.
Minnesota is very good too.
Well, I'm not a big. So is it now Cat's time? Because remember, he's been crumbling these last couple of years when it came in the playoffs.
I'm saying the team is more so in Anthony's hands.
That's what I was about to say. Now that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, it's more so in Ant-Man's hands.
Anthony Edwards is the
Anthony Edwards. He's the truth, and I agree with you. OKC. They're very good. I mean, at the middle of that conference is very strong. You got OKC, you got Minnesota.
You got a Dallas team that is actually clicking. Actually clicking.
And so the Pelicans are even good as well.
You got a Clippers team.
You left them out. Depends on what happens with Kawhi, but you got very good, solid Clippers team. And so it's going to be hard for the lower teams, I think, in the West.
Last year,
they're so top heavy.
And last year, the Lakers got lucky. They faced a Golden State team. Right. They were able to overcome the age.
Golden State shouldn't have been up that high.
Right. They faced a Memphis team where all they had was Miranda. Remember, he was actually just coming back from injury. So, they got kind of lucky. Then they ran into that Denver juggernaut. But there's no cakewalk this time. So it's going to be difficult for my Lakers to get to that Western Conference Finals again. Now, you do want to call experience for LeBron and the Anthony Davis effect, but their coaching has been so suspect throughout.
Why are people so hard on Darvin Ham?
So I don't think they should be hard on him. However, now, okay, let me back up. With that being said, he doesn't really have a whole lot to work with. It's not like he has a bench and a roster that's so deep. It's semi deep, but it's not like he has a bench and a roster that's so deep that they should just be winning easily. But it, he's not Steve Kerr. I guess we can't expect him to be Steve Kerr. He's not Lou. We can't expect him to be Lou.
Right.
But these are the coaches that you got to go up against. So when you're looking at his competition in coaching, he's the lesser of them. So it's going to be difficult for my Lakers to repeat in the Western
I
Conference.
think it's hard when you coach LeBron to get any credit as a coach.
Well, it absolutely is.
Yeah. I mean, outside of Ty Lue, Black wasn't necessarily a bad coach. I mean, he did get them to the finals.
And they let him go their next season, which
and
is
they
so
let him
weird.
go. And so, when he was down in Miami, he was trying to ether Spoelstra. And if it wasn't for Riley up at the top, like, no, this is our system. And, Spoelstra, we know what we're doing with the coaching. Spoelstra didn't necessarily get the credit that he deserved as a great. It wasn't until after LeBron left that people start saying Spoelstra is a great coach, and now you're up in LA, and I don't think any of those coaches have gotten any accolades since LeBron's been there. Well, we know LeBron's the coach. We know he's the GM, and that's probably why.
Absolutely.
But
are you? Do you have the Nuggets coming out the West still?
Yeah, I still have the Nuggets. I still think as long as Jokic is there, Murray stays healthy, that's the 1-2 punch. The rest of those guys feeling great. Porter and the other forward, I think they do well. Both of them play very well. And so I think, that's the formula. If they can get through healthy and stay intact, I don't think there's any answer for Jokic, excuse me, in the West.
Okay.
I don't think there's any, and that's what makes them great. I mean, he just pulls it together. They function well with him. I think Minnesota gives them some problems because Minnesota does have athletic bigs, and so that can present an issue for him at some point. But you had Anthony Davis was healthy last year, and he ate Anthony Davis up in the semis.
And
So,
Anthony Davis actually had if you look at the numbers, he had a very good Western Conference Finals, but he couldn't stop Jokic.
He ate them up in the Western Conference Finals, and so I don't know how much difference it makes. I mean, maybe Dallas is a wild card with Kyrie and Luka. You never know. I'm not sure about the Clippers because I'm not sure about it's all about Kawhi, and Kawhi's been dinged up, and once Kawhi goes down, he's done. You can't be waiting for Kawhi. And I think it's a big toss up in the East for the Bucks. I mean, I think the Celtics can do it. I don't think it's that top heavy in the East. If there was any competition, it would be from the Bucks. But with Giannis being out with the calf injury, and they just really have not gelled this year as you would thought they would have with Dame and Giannis, and so we'll see what happens with them.
I'm with you on the Nuggets. So I don't believe in Minnesota until Cat shows me something different in the playoffs. But I'm gonna tell you, I got a feeling this is going to be like the Oklahoma City team that had Durant, Westbrook, and Harding. This Oklahoma City team may make it to the finals. The
only thing I have against them, they're young. That's all.
That's the thing.
They were in the play-in last year.
I think that youth and that chip on their shoulder is just I don't know. I got a feeling
SGA does. I mean, and Holmgren, he's played well this year. They're good. I'm not discounting them. They're good.
But that's with them. I'm assuming they're going to maintain home court advantage. They are the number one seed, and if all three of them win tomorrow, they're going to be the number one seed still. I'm going into the playoffs. Now, if Denver gets that number one seed, being in Denver last year, that's a home court advantage for your ass. I'm gonna tell you, sir.
Right. Calvin's like, where's the oxygen tanks on the street as he's walking back to the hotel?
It's a home court advantage. I mean, the crowd, the court, it's amazing in there. So I'm not going to front on it.
As a matter of fact, you was up there. That's when they were having the forest fires, right? That's when
They
the
were,
U.S. was
yeah,
like a humidor
yeah. They
for
could.
like 3 weeks.
The white folk in Denver were mad that you could not see the mountains because of the forest
Whoa.
fires from Canada. They were pissed off. They were, every time I went somewhere, they were like, if you looked over there, you'd be able to see the Rockies, but these goddamn forest fires coming down from Canada, smoke is covering it all. I ain't no different. It just looked like clouds to me. They like, that's bullshit.
Yo,
Fucking Canada.
I think the biggest thing that happened this year for New Orleans was old boy Zion staying healthy. He laid off the beignets. He must have stayed out of the French Quarter because I was just down there, so that's why I know because I ate everything he didn't eat.
He
And
laid off of Mariah Mills.
he laid off the redfish, the rice and beans. He laid off the jambalaya, the crab etouffee. He did not go to Cafe Du Monde to get any beignets.
It's that porn star he laid off. Mariah Mills, he laid off of her.
He got muscling people. He looks great.
Yeah, Zion looks what John should have been coming into the NBA. He looks like he's trying to revive that. So yeah, Zion, you know.
Yeah. He looks great. And so we'll see. Playoffs start next week with the playing games. And so
tomorrow we'll let us know. Last games of the season, all on Sunday. So we'll see what happens.
There we go. Let's go ahead and tip over to the NFL draft real quick. NFL draft is later this month too. It's a busy April. Draft is on April the 25th in Detroit. What up, though? And who do you think is going to go number one? Is it going to be Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels?
I mean, they've already gotten rid of Justin Fields, so it's going to have to be Caleb Williams. I don't think there's any. I mean, we can sit here and speculate this and that. Like you don't even have Goodall don't even have to say they're on the clock. He can just already go to the number 2 pick. He's just when the first pick of the NFL draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams. The number 2 pick. Who's number 2 this year? Is it
the Commanders?
Is it Commanders are now on the clock? That's where you got to start trying to figure out who's going to pick who. But yeah,
it's
Caleb
Commanders.
Is going
it's Bears, Commanders, and Patriots. First
3. Caleb is definitely going number 1.
Okay. You know what? We'll see in the next because I bet you in the next 2 weeks it's going to be a whole bunch of Drake May talk. Drake May he's got the intangibles, he's got the lineage, he's got the pedigree, all of this, other that. But yeah, it's Caleb Williams. I agree with you. He's a transcending player in college football. You can't let that pass. You know, this
Caleb Caleb was picked when the Carolina Panthers lost that game that clinched the number 1 seed for the Bears. That was like what week? That was week 15, I think it was.
So he's going to Chicago. So I agree with you. I think Caleb Williams is going to go first. I think it's going to be quarterbacks the first couple picks because I definitely think the Commanders they're going to take May and more than likely
because they traded away they traded away what's his name Sam
Howell.
His name? Yeah, they traded away Howell.
Yeah, and that's crazy. Now he a quarterback at UNC, and more than likely they're going to take a UNC quarterback with their first pick in this draft. And so we'll see what happens at the top. But one of the narratives that have been coming out the last couple weeks is J.J. McCarthy. They're trying to push J.J. McCarthy up to be a top 5 pick. Quarterback for Michigan, led the team to the national championship. I didn't necessarily overwhelm people with the stats. I really couldn't tell you what receivers he had on that team and who he was throwing to. They were basically running the ball a lot, and he was making.
I was about to say it was the running. It was their running game.
So, but this seems to be we're being fed the information that he's going to be in a top 5, no less than a top 10 pick. And so, do you think J.J. McCarthy will be a top 5 pick?
Well, so. I don't know. Let me put it that way. I haven't kept up enough
you ain't
with
talked
him.
To your insiders?
Yeah, I ain't kept up enough with him. Yeah.
You ain't talked to Mel Kiper. He's from Baltimore. I know you out there his way. And you ain't talked to Mel?
Funny, I saw when we had the ESPN zone downtown, I saw Mel Kiper walking in there one day. And this was before I knew he was actually from Baltimore. Yeah. I knew he was an analyst. And I just kept looking at him. And he kept looking at me. And I was like, I think that's Mel Kiper. I kept it moving because I ain't really care.
Okay.
But no, here's the thing. I don't know if he's going top 5, but I encourage him to. Because I want all quarterbacks um, running backs, tight ends, anything that the Ravens don't need, I want them to all go up before the Ravens pick. So these players that we do need start
so they can
falling
drop down,
down.
and these
Yeah,
other
start
team
falling
needs.
down.
Yeah, right. I want a top 5 lineman to drop down to 28 to 29.
Exactly. I want for some scenario where we get Marvin Harrison Jr. I want the scenario where he
Ain't gonna
drops
happen.
all the way down.
He ain't gonna drop that far, brother.
I saw somebody posted in Twitter, Marvin Harrison Jr. gets high, right? Like they try to get people to go against him, like so he can fall all the way down.
He ain't gonna fall that far. He ain't gonna fall that far.
We
If he
damn
fell
sure.
that far, Pittsburgh would get him before we
I was about
would,
to
or
say
Cincinnati.
The Steelers would be Mike Tomlinson would be like, he get high, that's my guy.
That's fine.
You know how he
Right. Anytime he dealt with Antonio Brown, I can deal with Reefer, with the Reefers as they call it.
I tell you, boy, they done had some characters on that team, man.
Ain't no Antonio Brown was a nut until he left.
Good
But he managed it.
gracious.
He managed it. He got several years out of that nut. Yeah, man. So we'll see. So what do you think the Ravens would take in the first round? Offensive lineman or wide receiver?
They really need of course with the Ravens, it's going to always be best player available with their needs this year. It's usually used to be the best player available no matter what position. Now it's going to be the best player available based on their needs. So if that's edge rusher, if that's wide receiver, offensive lineman, I really, really hope they go wide receiver because I do think the Ravens do very well at getting offensive linemen in the later rounds, even guys off the street to kind of fill in and work through. Last year, if you looked at the offensive line, you'd be like, who are these guys? But they came through. We lost quite a few guys over the past few years, but
Yeah.
they pieced it together and did pretty well. And I think that's all because Ronnie Stanley got healthy at the right time. Remember, he was out for so long last season. We were like, is he ever coming back? I mean, he came back beginning of the season, but then he was out again and nobody knew what was going on. And the year before, of course, he stayed out just what we thought was just too long. But he came back healthy. It doesn't seem to stay healthy. I don't know how many more years he has with the Ravens. But I think they do well with developing offensive linemen. So I really want them to get they really need another stud wide receiver. I never thought Zay was a stud. I thought Zay was a quick, fast, handsy receiver, which he proven to be good. But they need a stud. They need a guy. They need a big
They
guy
got
that can
Rashard
just
Bateman on the roster.
yeah, but you know how we feel about Rashad. What is just you got to show it to us. I thought Rashad was going to break out last year, but it's something about him and Lamar. I don't know what's going on. So we'll see, man. I think they need to. I want them to get. It's supposed to be deep in wide receivers, some speed guys, some hands guys. So I would want them to get one. But if they see an offensive lineman that then they'll get that. I'm not quite sure where they go. When you draft that low, it's so difficult to determine, who's going to fall to
Sure,
you
sure.
and all of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if because they're so low, they like to trade back and get more picks. So they're so low, it wouldn't be anything to them to trade back and go into the top of the second round. You're only looking at a difference of 3 picks at that point. So.
Possibly, if the person you want is not there, then maybe they drop back, and we'll see that. That's normally what they've done. I was reading something on Twitter the other day. One of the analysts that I follow, Ravens have spent more draft capital on wide receivers than anyone over the last 3 seasons. And
Really?
so, yeah, and so it's not a thing that they have not drafted wide receivers. They just have not had success coaching them up and them being successful. Now they just transitioned from a run heavy system with Roman to a more moderate passing system under the current offensive coordinator. And so under Munkin. And so maybe they might have something there on the roster that can help them. I really think the priority, they got to do some replacement on that line. I mean, I like Makari, and he's a good insertion piece. He's a good swing player, but he's been proven not to stay healthy when he has to play a lot of games. And so I don't know what Andrew Voorhees is going to do for them. He's coming off of a ACL tear. Um, can he last the whole season? Ben Cleveland, he's really been in a reserve role for the last several seasons. Is he ready to step into that role as a full-time starter? Um, and so if they had the linemen there, and you never know what you're going to get out of Stanley too. Although Stanley did take a reduction in pay, he cut some of his salary. He hasn't necessarily been healthy a full season as well. And so I think the priority is offensive lineman. If you get a top 10 offensive lineman that falls down that far, you got to jump on it. If that lineman's not there, or if that receiver's not there, that's worth that first round pick, then yeah, go ahead, drop down to the second, and you stockpile up. But I think offensive lineman first. I would like to see them do something on the edge with a rusher. So yeah, I'm not necessarily enamored with wide receivers because I think you can get someone off the scrap heap maybe to add to that. I think we got to give Bateman. I think this is the year. Bateman can't show you
We
what
said
he
that
has.
last year, didn't we?
Um,
Now they did get
yeah,
OBJ,
kind of,
so
sort of.
that
I
might
mean, so I mean, you bring it back Aguilera, you got Zay, you got Bateman, and that basically were the sets for several games. I mean, because OBJ, I mean, he was just here to look good and to do the Parkite strut, and he was a good glue guy, but he was running on the rotors. When he was out there running the patterns, I heard a lot of scratching, like
yeah, but
yeah,
but had Lamar used him a little more in the AFC Championship game, we might have
Lamar
gone to
wasn't
the
using
Super Bowl
nobody. He
because OBJ was wide open quite a few times. That last interception, OBJ was wide open down the
no,
middle.
they just don't even get me started
Ugh.
that they didn't run the ball. But anyway, nonetheless, the better team won that day.
The better team won that day.
The better
I
team
can
won
I
that
can
day.
absolutely say
The
that.
better team won that day. And so we're now coming to a close of the show, and your favorite section of the show, your favorite moment, come on yo. And so Calvin, start us off with the come on yo.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that I'm a go back to the OJ thing. So of course we talked about it. Everyone knows that OJ Simpson passed away earlier this week due to prostate cancer. And Garland touched on this, and actually, my doctor told me that most black men should get their prostate checked at 45, but he even suggests 40, and they're trying to change that number to the age of 40 and not 45. So just take that information as you will, but get checked out. In the midst of that, there was a lot of opinions flying around on social media. But one in particular jumped out on Twitter, or X as it's called now, and it was from Bruce Jenner. Yeah, I know what the legal name is, but his mama named him Bruce. I'm going to call him Bruce.
Bruce.
Bruce Jenner said, good riddance. Okay, that's fine. We know that you don't like the fact that he was sleeping with your now wife, because she wasn't your wife then. We know you don't like the fact that he had a baby with your now wife, so allegedly. Um, and it's fine. So people came back and was like, "Your next Mrs. Doubtfire," like calling the Mrs. Doubtfire and all kinds of things, just killing them. Here's my problem. Then Bruce comes back and says, "You are all getting on me for saying good riddance, but let's remember, this is a guy that said that he could kill him and get away with it. He could wrote a book about it." Okay, Bruce, you support Donald Trump, who literally said he could go out and shoot somebody in New York City and would not be charged. You ain't never say nothing about that. Or what about the fact that you ran over and killed someone back in 2015 and you got away with it? You think the family will say good riddance to you when you die? Like, you didn't need to defend it. We know that you don't like OJ. We know that your wife doesn't like OJ. Matter of fact, there is a dividing line, and it's generally black and white. And we know that you conservative, so-called Christian white people and some of you black people too, don't like OJ and have a whole lot to say about OJ Simpson. But it's so hypocritical because when we hit you with things like, well, he was found innocent. Why are you still there? If Donald Trump is found innocent of these charges, you all are going to be like, well, why are we still talking about that? Wasn't he found innocent? He's not guilty. OJ was you. Ron Goldman's daddy. He might have been like, I ain't got nothing to say, like it's no big loss to the world. But you know what was lost? The fact that OJ passed before you, and you may look at it as a victory, but sir, your whole life mission was to get justice for your son, which you never got. You never got. So you can sit here and act like it's big, bold, and glad that he's gone, but now you have to live with you failed your son. And I hate to put it that way because I hate to go as low as you are, but come on, yo. Come on, yo. This man died. There's always a certain level of decorum and respect that you should just have for the world. You could just not say anything. Or after you say something and get called out on it, you could just let it be because you had your say, but not you all. You like to double down on everything. But then when you get called out on that shit, you clam up and curl up like, how dare they? How dare they? Come on, yo. Come on. As a matter of fact, not even come on, yo. Fuck y'all, yo. And I'm not even the biggest OJ supporter, but fuck y'all. We hate that it has to come down to this, but that's what you all make it every time something happens between black people and white people. You make it this way. So come on, yo. Fuck y'all, yo. Leave OJ alone. Let that man rest.
Tell him how you feel, son.
Pissed me off, yo. They pissed me off.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even in death, this whole OJ Simpson thing, it was just a lightning rod. It's crazy. And I didn't mention this when we talked about OJ earlier. I remember watching the NBA Finals, Rockets versus Knicks, and they cut into the game to show the Bronco chase with AC Cowlings. And I never forget the whole thing of that whole thing for I guess for 2 years, 3 years, the country was captivated on this whole OJ Simpson thing. And it became such a dividing point between black people and white people in terms of interpretation of not only race, but the legal system and policing and all of those things. And it's still prevalent today. I think this is where we got this whole Tea Party mess, where the rise of the MAGA people and the Trumpers and all of that stuff. I mean, they probably can trace their lineage back to OJ and their feelings about is OJ guilty or not. And so, yeah, man, you probably asked a bunch of MAGAs, was OJ guilty? And they used to be like, he did that shit. And so, yeah. Yeah, man. They would and black people too. And so yeah, yeah. Come on, yo. Gerard Carmichael. Now, comedian and actor Gerard Carmichael, he has a new show on HBO entitled The Gerard Michael Carmichael Reality Show. It follows Gerard as he navigates friends, family, and strangers in his quest for love, sex, and connection. Now, the first two episodes, they're quite a handful, Calvin. I don't know if you've actually watched them or not.
Absolutely not.
In the first episode, Carmichael expresses his attraction he has a crush on his good friend, Tyler the Creator, rapper and producer Tyler the Creator. And he invites Tyler to be his date for the Emmy Awards. But Tyler rejects him, and it's real funny. As a matter of fact, if you that episode, it's jarring, but this whole obsession he has with Tyler the Creator and how Tyler basically he plays him, he kind of blows him off, no Diddy, and
Well,
yeah,
you might not have to say no Diddy with those two.
yeah,
But
yeah. I don't think you guys say no Diddy with them, but yeah, yeah. It's real. It's quite. He just basically like get out my face, clown. And because Tyler Creator, he is. I don't think he considers himself non-binary, but he would identify as.
he identifies as
Um,
bisexual.
yeah, it's bisexual.
Yeah,
And
he
so
definitely does.
now it's the second episode though that's kind of concerning. And in that episode, Gerard talks about his fidelity issues and shares that he has an attraction for white gay men, because it allows him to engage in slave play fantasies. That's right, people. You heard me. Slave play fantasies. During one of his stand up routines, Carmichael explained, I sometimes joke to him that our relationship is like that of a slave and a master's son who like teaches me how to read by candlelight. Now, when the crowd lets out a mixed reaction, he continues, yeah, he groans too because he's a good person. He doesn't like that effing joke. I like that joke. That's my burden. I think that S is hilarious. All right. I'm not bashing Carmichael for his choices. That's who he chooses to be. He had been living in the closet for years, and God knows the impact that's had on his psyche and all of those other things. And so, I wish him the best as he tries to, navigate life now as a out gay man. But HBO, you telling me we couldn't get a second season of Lovecraft Country or Watchmen, but we could get a season of the Gerard Carmichael reality show with Gerard Carmichael on screen sucking white people's feet and talking about he has slave play fantasies? Come on, yo. Come on, yo. Yeah, I want to know who greenlights these shows. That's what I want to know. Who greenlights a show that has Charlemagne the God go on the show and give political commentary about something that is major going on in these states across the country in diversity and education and the impact of this DEI stuff. Charlemagne the God, a guy who gets on the radio and beats with Birdman and Baby, you know what I'm saying? That's about to get beat up by Beanie Siegel. That guy?
And Frejo Star.
Yeah, and Fredo Star. That guy is the guy I should be getting political advice from. I never forget somebody, and this used to burn my bottom. Somebody greenlit a show for Charles Barkley to do episodes on racial harmony in this country. He came here to Baltimore, and they almost ran him out the city. It wasn't too far after after the Freddie Gray murder, and he's over in East Baltimore talking about, well, we got to give the police a chance, and they almost tried to choke him up in there in that church in East Baltimore at Bishop Dante Hicklin's church. Somebody greenlit a show with Charles Barkley as the expert of talking about race. Somebody at HBO greenlit this show for Gerard Carmichael to suck toes and to talk about he has slave play fantasies. All right. So come on, y'all. Let's stop. Let's stop. Yes, I love to see black people on the screen. Yes, I love to see us get some opportunities. But let's get some balance and let's get some people who actually know what they're talking about or doing, and give them opportunities as well. We got creators out here that should be getting a shot that are not getting a shot because we're seeing these greenlit things that are very disturbing. Very disturbing. I had a friend in closing. He always used to say, "Man, they always put the negative image of us on TV. That's what they're trying to push these agendas." And I used to be like, bro, you got some tinfoil on your head. You're a little bit too conspiracy theory for me." But now I'm looking at it just lately. I think homie was right. Yeah, I think it's some truth to what he's saying, man. I think it's some truth to what he's saying. So come on, yo, Gerard Carmichael, take the toes out your mouth, and you gotta realize the impact that slavery has had even to today.
Yeah, and so let me start with Gerard Carmichael. So he had a sitcom that was out, and people thought it was
Yeah.
so great.
Mm.
I never did. I tried to watch it. It was not funny. So initially, for me, he's just not entertaining, and it doesn't have anything to do with his sexuality because Wanda Sykes is openly gay, and I find her entertaining. I don't find her the funniest, but she's entertaining. Gerard Carmichael is just not entertaining. And I don't know what it's called, but when men do that switch on their women friends, like they just all of a sudden, I've been really attracted to you. It's cringy. This
Right.
is a cringe moment for Gerard Carmichael and Tyler, the Creator. And Tyler absolutely played him and laughed it off and played him. So I didn't watch the show, but of course that clip was been prevalent on social media all through. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm with you. So there's certain things that I just find off limits. Now, obviously, there's these porn things, there's these skits on that they'll do about slavery and all that, but to literally go on and say that you have a white boyfriend and say this is we're doing, it's so weird. In a day like, and even now, where we're supposed to be past all this, they're literally trying to erase this history out of books in Florida, in Texas, and other jurisdictions. They're taking these types of classes out of colleges in Florida, and you want to make a joke about it, sir? I'm with Garland. Come on, yo, stop that shit. Right. Like have some more self-awareness, especially as a gay man. Like you have enough going against you, and yeah, you make light of things. That's what comedians do. That's what comedy's about. You make light of serious issues, but that's not funny. It's just not funny. And you may find a section of your fans that find it funny, but do you really want those fans? Because they will turn on you. So anyway, hey man. Another show, our first show as the B.I.G. sports show.
Take that, Jay. Take that, Jay.
Jay, that's 2 in a row.
About that, Jay, when I see you at the game on Tuesday. Let me see what you got to say. That's 2 in a row, son.
2 in a row, sir. I mean, Jay's our boy, but Jay be quick to be like, y'all gave up on yourself. But we reinvented. You know what I mean?
With your Baltimore East talking self. Say, all right, we did 2. We did 2, dude. We did 2. All right, say that, Jay. I know you go get Jay. I'm just joking. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I'm just playing, yo.
There's gonna be a fight at the Oriole game this week.
You buffed me. Don't hurt me, Jay. I'm just playing. I'm just joking, Jay.
Okay? Hey, man, it's another great show. Definitely make sure you join us next week. And again, this is live on YouTube right now on the All Things Black channel. And then there is a YouTube podcast that it will show up on. And that is going to be the B.I.G. Sports Show, the Big Sports Show. And you'll also see this on on Spotify. You'll actually see it, but it'll also be on all the podcast platforms as soon as I upload it, which should be today. If not today, it'll definitely be tomorrow. So, hey, Garland, appreciate you sticking with me, even though, I ain't get up early in the morning like I should have, but I appreciate you sticking with me. Let me play this outro because
it's pretty late. Hold on. What time is it?
Trying to clown me. See this nigga trying to clown me.
Man. You have been listening to Fanboys.
Set that alarm on
All
Saturdays.
Things Black with Garland and Calvin Productions.
Hey man, we need to update
Thank you for
this
listening.
because
and make sure to rate and review this episode.
We're gonna update. I'm gonna work on it.
All right, man. Later, Garland.
Peace.